We got breaking news, y'all. We got breaking news. I know I've been gone for a while. I had some technical problems with my laptop and my SD cards and all of that, but we back at the perfect time. Y'all know what's going on. James Harden has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and y'all know I have to give y'all my thoughts, opinions, and everything on this topic. First and foremost, let's lay out the groundwork. As a lot of y'all know, it's a lot been going on all season, even prior to the season, leading into the season. James Harden and the Rockets, it's a lot going on. If y'all do recall, anybody who watches my NBA weeklies and just my YouTube videos and my reactions to things that's going on around the league, you'll remember that when Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey first departed from Houston, my initial response to that in my reaction video was stating that if I was James Harden, or if I was a part of James Harden's camp, I would be requesting a trade to get out of there, because they kind of left him there to build the pieces. This is before John Wall was acquired. This is before Boogie came. This might be even before Christian Wood came. And that's exactly what happened. James Harden basically wanted out. Even after they went out and got John Wall, Boogie, Christian Wood, James Harden kept the same energy and wanted out. It's been a mess for a very long time. And now we finally have a situation where James Harden gets what he wants. And not only does he get what he wants, he gets exactly what he wants. And I think that was to be paired up with a guy like Kevin Durant. And then also to be able to play with Kyrie Irving now makes them the favorites out in Brooklyn to win it all, if I'm being quite honest. We'll get to the details in a second to dissect the full trade and a full breakdown. But I think this is monsters. The first thing I want to speak on is the Houston Rockets. They've been dealing with a lot. Because like I said, the marriage between Harden and the Houston Rockets as an organization has been rocky since Morey and D'Antoni were cut ties with. And it's ironic that the two teams that were battling out to get him both have one of the guys. So in Philadelphia, Daryl Morey is calling the shots there in the GM role. And then with Brooklyn, we know Steve Nash is the head coach, and he brought on his former head coach, Mike D'Antoni, to be a part of that coaching staff. So in either situation, James Harden was going to be reunited with Daryl Morey or Mike D'Antoni, and that's the irony behind everything. And he's going to be paired back with D'Antoni with a lesser degree, but still that relationship and that partnership is now reunited. Houston, though, I've been in the last day or so with James Harden exit interview, which was yesterday's post-game interview after they lost to the Lakers. You know, I love the response that we got from John Wall. Here it is. It's a situation where he was thrown into. He has nothing to do with James Harden and the Rockets situation or relationship. He's just there to play basketball and to try to win games. So I loved his leadership role and basically saying, hey, we're 9 games in. None of us have done anything to you. That's a situation that is between you and the Rockets. So don't make the rest of us be affected by it. And it's the same thing and the same response and same type of tone that Boogie had a couple hours ago with his post-practice interview, which is basically saying, listen, the 14 guys in that locker room, we did nothing to James Harden. You know what I mean? We didn't want to come into drama. We don't want to be a part of the drama. We just wanted him to be a leader and to be basically James Harden, to come in and hoop and give us your best effort until you and the organization figure out exactly what y'all want to do. But up until then, like we look at the last 4 games, is the first time James Harden has scored under 20 points 4 consecutive games since he was in OKC. You know what I mean? He's showing up late to the camp. He's out there with no mask on in parties. He's out of shape, clearly. And it's just kind of when you're watching the games, it seems like James Harden is being not the usual James Harden they were used to. Even out of shape, James Harden is a problem. He's one of the best scorers we've seen in NBA history. And you can tell by just watching and looking at the games that James Harden didn't have the same pep in his step and kind of gave up on the team. And then basically saying we're not good enough is kind of like a spit in the face or a slap in the face to the rest of the 14 guys in the locker room. So John Wall's and DeMarcus Cousins' responses, I liked. Because it's like, hey, no matter what James Harden is doing, there's 14 other guys in this locker room who have to go out there and compete and try to figure this thing out. It's unfair. It's not right. But we're not going to let James Harden, just mess everything up for us, because whether he's here today or he's going tomorrow, we still have to be here and figure this thing out. So big ups to DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. They aren't the player that James Harden is, but that doesn't mean they can't speak up and be a voice of reason, especially to a young team in Houston. And I think that showed a lot of big kahunas and just good leadership to be able to come out and say that. In no way, shape, or form did they disrespect James Harden, in my opinion. I don't think they did anything wrong. But I think the Houston Rockets as a team needed a player or two to come out and say, listen, James Harden in that situation is going on. We're going to call it a spade a spade. We're not going to come up here and do these interviews and pretend that there's no situation going on. We're going to address the elephant in the room, and we're going to call it how it is and just keep it all the way real. And now that he's gone, they got that out of the way, and they'll have that bond and that unity to say, listen, he's gone now. Let's do what we got to do, and let's hoop, and let's have that full brotherhood and that full team spirit to be the best that we can be. Because on paper, that team is a lot better than what their record shows. You know, John Wall has looked like a nice portion of his old self, considering how long he's missed and the injuries he's coming back from. DeMarcus Cousins is an all-star level DeMarcus Cousins, but he's been competent. Christian Wood has been a most improved player candidate. And some of those younger players have stepped up as well. Jayshawn Tate has had some moments with them. They still have PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, guys like that who've been around for a minute. And now they're going to be bringing in some other pieces that could potentially help them. And, you know, like I said, they're not as bad as their record suggests. And they have a new coach. There will be a new offense, a new way of playing basketball. And I think that team can be a little bit more better. Will they be that third, fourth, you know, even second seed that we've seen them be over the past several years? Probably not, but I think they don't have to be a bottom feeding team in the West, and they can go out there and compete. Now, with that being said, let's break down the full trade with all the details here. I'm going to make sure we hit everything on the head and give y'all every single fact. So the full trade, and it's put right here in my sources, it's saying it's still developing. So the Nets are going to receive James Harden. Brooklyn Nets now have Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, Timothy, TLC, whatever. Y'all know who I'm talking about. And then Spencer Dinwiddie, of course, because he's injured. He's still on their roster. The Rockets are going to receive Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Radions Kurocs, 4 first-round picks, and then 4 swaps. So basically, they'll have 8 first-round picks because they'll get the favorite out of the swaps. And then the Pacers, because they gave up Victor Oladipo to the Rockets, they're going to be the ones that get Karis LeVert. And then also, the Cavaliers got into the mix, and they acquired Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. So, starting with the Brooklyn Nets, James Harden, there's nothing there to be said. I think when you pull together the dynamic of James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving without having to give up Spencer. Now, previous to Spencer's injury, it was a thought that, man, you were going to have to probably package Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, and Jared Allen with an abundance of picks. That's a lot to give up. That's a lot to give up. And we've seen early in the season, the Nets look very, very dominant. They look like the favorites to come out of the East. Everybody was on pace, on step. Kyrie was sharp. KD looked like he didn't miss a beat. They had flow. They had depth. They looked really good. Now, since then, there's been some situations. KD had to quarantine. Kyrie hasn't been around the team for a minute with his situation and what's going on. We saw some flaws. They've lost some games. Even when they had KD and Kyrie, they lost to the Hawks or whatnot. And we saw some flaws or some things about them. But for them to now receive James Harden and unfortunately and fortunately, Spencer Dinwiddie is hurt. But because he's hurt, they had no way to trade him. So now they get to keep him. He's going to come back sometime. Like, Spencer Dinwiddie is going to come back to this team, and they're going to have him, Joe Harris, to surround that big three. I will be honest. I'm interested to see how this is going to work because there is one basketball. What I did like about them having Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie is that as good as those young guys are, we know that they fall second fiddle to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. So you could have the luxury of having Karis LeVert come off the bench and play a Manu Ginobili role, like Steve Nash had mentioned. You can have a Jared Allen come off the bench behind DeAndre Jordan. Now when you bring an established star, superstar like James Harden, he's not going to come in and play second fiddle to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. In his mind, he's just as good as them. So you're going to have to make sure that James Harden gets 20-plus shots. Kyrie is going to have to get 20-plus shots. And then Kevin Durant is going to have to get 25-plus shots. It's going to be harder to make those guys sacrifice than it was for Spencer and Karis. It's a lot easier to say, Karis, some nights you may get 15 shots. Some nights you may only get 9. But you have to understand that that's Kevin Durant. It's going to be hard to have that same message to James Harden. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that it won't work. I'm not saying that it will, but I know that message and that tone or that thought process is going to be a lot harder to implement when you have 3 legitimate stars. Usually when teams have 3 stars, there are some automatic guys who take a backseat. You know what I mean? When Kyrie, LeBron, and Love came together, automatically Kevin Love is taking a back seat. He's going to have a lesser role. He's going to have to sacrifice some things. The big 3 in Miami, Wade, Bron, Bosh. Bosh automatically is the guy that kind of has to take the back seat. He's going to change his game. He's now going to be in a corner shooting threes. He's going to have less opportunity, less shot selections and things like that. With these guys, I am very interested to see who's the third guy that kind of falls and dip. Right now, seeing all the situations and things going on, Kyrie hasn't been around the team. They don't expect him to rejoin the team this week. So I'm guessing it may be him. But then when he does come back, again, Kyrie Irving is Kyrie Irving. It's going to be hard to ask him to kind of take that back seat and then not get the shots that he's normally, used to getting and things like that. And it's been rumored that Brooklyn is kind of growing frustrated with Kyrie Irving. So I'm kind of interested to see how he reacts to this trade and how they piece that together going forward, or even if they'll keep him. You know what I mean? That's just one thing to keep an eye on as far as that. But I'll tell you, the duo of Kevin Durant and James Harden, whether Kyrie is there or not, is going to be extremely dangerous. That's a pick and roll that I can't wait to watch happen in the next couple of days. Now, from the Rockets standpoint, they go out and they get Victor Oladipo. This is tough because I know Victor Oladipo is going to have a contract that's going to be expiring soon. I don't know how much or how well the Rockets will be able to retain him or keep him. Maybe they can. Maybe they're willing to pay him an amount of money that the Pacers weren't going to be willing to do, or maybe other teams wouldn't be willing to do. But the 4 first-round picks is definitely going to be intriguing, and it's definitely exciting for them to have. And then the 4 pick swaps. So they're going to put themselves in a position where they're going to have some draft capital to work with, whether they're using it in trades or they're using it to rebuild and re-establish their organization. Dante Exum and Kuroc, they're kind of throw-ins. But I'm definitely interested and kind of surprised that they prioritize getting Oladipo over Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert is younger. I thought you can maybe afford to keep him around longer because he already got his extension and whatnot. Victor Oladipo is kind of a roll of a dice. He may come there and be counting his days till he's a free agent and can make his own decision. So I thought that was very interesting. But on paper, I do like his fit. A backcourt of John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood, and Boogie, and then you have PJ Tucker and whatnot on the wing. And on paper, it sounds nice. I really do think that could be nice on paper. Now, as far as the Pacers, you're getting Karis LeVert. Very interesting. I like that Pacers team. I like Miles Turner and Sabonis. I think Malcolm Brogdon is highly underrated. Justin Holiday is a supreme 3-and-D dude throughout the league. And then when healthy, TJ Warren gave them another look and another punch. And then they also have Jeremy Lamb, who hasn't been healthy in a minute. But Karis LeVert is going to be nice with them. I think this Pacers team found a way to get better. And like I said, the answers and the questions developing around Victor Oladipo and his full situation, it's gone. Because now you have Karis LeVert, who's going to be tied up. He's going to be there. He's younger. And he's going to complement them. He's not going to be the defensive presence that Victor Oladipo once was and is, but I think he gives them another layer offensively and another, tool in their box. I think they're a very versatile team. They have a lot of different looks that they can hit you with, and I think Karis LeVert only adds to that. And then last but not least, the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers received Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. I think that for them to only give up Dante Exum, that's a big come up. You know what I mean? That's a good trade for the Cavaliers to get in on. Andre Drummond. He picked up his option. You don't know how long he's going to be there because it's just a 1-year option. He's kind of betting on himself. That's a big come up. To only give up Dante Exum and to pick up Jared Allen and Taurean Prince, who are 2 solid players in my opinion. They're younger. You put them in with the Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, because again, you don't know how long Drummond is going to be there. He could walk after this year. I think that was very, very, very smart on the Cavaliers end to get in there and to get involved. You basically got Jared Allen and Taurean Prince for nothing. Dante Exum wasn't really playing a valuable role to the Cavs. They're not going to miss him too much. So I think that was nice. But I think that the best part of the trade is the Pacers getting Victor Oladipo for Karis LeVert. Like I said, Victor Oladipo is going to be a free agent this summer, and you basically was able to get Karis LeVert. And the Rockets, it's a head scratching thing for the Rockets, man, because like I said, you're going to have to sit up there and try to convince Victor Oladipo to stay when you could have got Karis LeVert, who's already kind of tied up in his situation as far as contractual things. But very interesting. I can't wait to see all of these guys play on their teams. I'm wondering how long it's going to take. And like I said, details are still developing, so we can still see some added things here or there. But I think that's going to be the pretty much bulk of the trade. If I had to pick the biggest winners and losers, obviously James Harden makes your team better. So, obviously the Nets win from an on-paper standpoint, but it's not all solved. They could get out there and the 3 of them could not work, or it's going to be time for them to jail. And, we've seen big threes not work. We've seen for a while that you can't just throw names together on paper. Again, I'm not saying it will or won't work, but I do know that chemistry, flow, and things like that, they matter. More so than just throwing names on a paper and saying, go out there and hoop. I have to say that the Pacers and the Cavaliers are winners in this too, though. I have to give them some credit. Like I said, the Cavaliers being able to jump in and snag Jared Allen and Taurean Prince and basically just giving up Dante Exum, that's a big win. That's a big win. It takes the pressure off of them to retain Drummond, so they don't have to now pay Drummond some absurd amount of money to keep him because you have Jared Allen, who I think is a nice, solid, young big. Taurean Prince is a good 3-and-D wing, versatile guy who can play 3 and 4, who will complement Darius Garland and Colin Sexton on a perimeter and gives them, like I said, 3-and-D presence. And then the Pacers, again, to be able to take Victor Oladipo with all his uncertainty on how much they want to keep him, how much they will be willing to pay him, you flip him and you go get Karis LeVert, who's already tied up, he's younger, and has a lot of potential. That was a good move. Rockets, I think the Rockets may be the biggest loser. Those picks are nice and everything, but again, they're coming from Brooklyn, and with these 3, even if they don't win the championship, I can guarantee this is going to be a high-seeded playoff team. And I just think that, man, Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, that was going to be a good return. I don't think anything would have beaten that return. And for them to not get it, I hope it wasn't because they tried to get greedy and get Matisse Thybulle. Reports came out that they wanted Ben and Maxey as a package, but then it came out that they also wanted Thybulle to get involved. And Philadelphia may have been like, man, that's too much. We just can't do that. And I hope that isn't the case on why it didn't happen, because I still think even if you can't get Matisse Thybulle, to be able to get Ben Simmons, Maxey, and some picks would have been much better than what they got in return. We're talking about Victor Oladipo, who could walk. Dante Exum and Kuroc probably won't be there either. And then some picks and then some swaps with a team that it's going to probably be good. So y'all let me know y'all reactions to the trade. I know we have some fans of each of these teams. Pacer fans, how do you feel about being able to flip Oladipo for Karis LeVert? Cleveland fans, how do you feel about being able to get Jared Allen and Taurean Prince for absolutely nothing? Rocket fans, are you upset that this is the return that you got? Do you think that it would have been worth keeping him a little longer? Are you just happy to get rid of James Harden? Are you happy with the picks? Did you want Ben Simmons? Did you not want Ben Simmons? And then Brooklyn Net fans, feel free to talk all of the shit that you want, because as of now, you are looking like the best team on paper. So feel free to pop y'all shit off in the comments. Always, if you're new, subscribe. Definitely leave a like. Definitely leave a comment. And until the next time, I'm your host, Pee with a Plug. I'm out.